All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning to you. It's Tuesday, February 9th, 2021. And this morning, we're going to talk about how to juggle what's important. How to juggle what's important. Good to be back. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys, what's happening? Happy Tuesday to you. Man, it's good to be back on my home turf, back in front of my normal computer, my normal setup. Man, it was a great week away with the family. Want to kind of catch you guys up on that. Want to share some of the challenges that we had on vacation because we always talk about all the good stuff, but definitely talk about some of the challenges. And then we're going to dig into this morning's topic, which is how to juggle what's important. And it's not easy to do that. And I know a lot of people out there are trying to, juggle everything that's important to them, all the people that they love, all the things in their own life that's really important, and how do you do that? It's not easy. And I don't have a perfect playbook to it, but I'm going to give you kind of how I do it. And hopefully that'll be helpful to you. But so spent the last week and change in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So we decided to drive because we have 4 kids. We were going to stay for an extended period of time. And we had some friends that we wanted to stop and see on the way down. So thank you so much to Chris and Leanne Saunders and their family. We stopped in Raleigh, North Carolina to see the Saunders family, and we stayed overnight at their home. And man, just what an incredible family and incredible people Chris and Leanne and their children are. Never felt more welcome in a place in my entire life. It was like we lived there, literally. So thank you to them. Had a blast in Raleigh, and then we continued on the rest of the way down to Fort Lauderdale. And so a couple days in Fort Lauderdale were chilly, so we were kind of stuck in the hotel room a little bit trying to entertain the kids. And then we spent a couple days at the pool, and then we started our drive home. Well, actually, I should tell you this. So we were supposed to be having our company meeting for the payment group down there, but somebody on our team, one of their family members, actually several of their family members, tested positive for COVID. So we had to cancel that meeting. So some challenges there. And so we adjusted our trip to come home when we were originally supposed to come home. And then, we made it home late last night. But in between then, we left Fort Lauderdale, made it less than 100 miles in the car. And one of the kids got sick. And then another one of the kids got sick. And so literally we made it less than 100 miles of a 16-hour and change trip back to Pennsylvania, and we had to pull over and get a hotel. So yesterday we decided we were going to make it the whole way home last evening, and so we made it. We just took a shot at it and made it all the way back to right around probably Washington, Pennsylvania. So that's probably, I guess, about 90 miles from here, 80 miles from here, something like that. And straight blizzard, like literally straight blizzard, like never seen that much snow on the interstate in my life. So the last 80 miles or so of our trip were white knuckled on the steering wheel. And but we are home safe and sound. Everybody got a decent night's sleep, man. The baby's up already this morning, running around the house. Quincy's up this morning. My wife's up with those two out in the living room. So, but man, it's good to be back. And good morning to you, Leonard Pickett. I want to say good morning to some folks here. My wife's watching with the kids. Keith Calloway Jr. and Keith Calloway Sr. are both here. Roll calling it this morning. Good morning to you guys. John Rugg, Jared Bird, Tammy, good morning to you. Good to see you. Dean, good morning to you. Carla, Rick, man, good morning to you guys. And it is good to be back, man. I got a lot to talk about because I haven't talked for a week. So I got a lot of topics, spent a lot of time. Good morning to you, Kara. Spent a lot of time thinking this week and kind of decompressing and just, kind of hitting the reset button, if you will. And so I spent a lot of time this week thinking about different things to talk about. So you guys will have an interesting week, and I've got some interesting guests that will be joining us here in the mornings in the coming days. So stay tuned for that. I read some books while I was on vacation and connected with those authors, and some of those folks are going to be joining us here. So, but let's dig into the topic this morning. So how to juggle what's important. There's a list of things here that I think are important, that are important to me, and I think would probably be important to a lot of people. At least some of this list would be important to a lot of people. So I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about kind of how I approach trying to balance it all. And it's not easy, but it's something that if you just stay after it, man, you get a little bit better every single day at juggling all those balls. And, eventually you feel like things are pretty under control. So here's the list of things that I want, that are important to me that I want to be great at. I always want to keep learning, right? I always want to be educating myself, absorbing books, absorbing audio books, podcasts. Now we've got Clubhouse, which is like a live podcast. We listened to some of that on the drive home, my wife and I. So, I always want to be learning. I always want to keep teaching. So I always want to take that knowledge that I learn and I want to share it with others. And that, again, these things all consume your time. So keep that in mind, right? Learning, teaching, obviously at the top of my list, I want to be the best father to my children, and I want to be the best husband that I can possibly be. And then, of course, you want to have successful businesses. And I always want to maintain and nurture all of the relationships that I establish. So, throughout these, things that I do, there's a lot of relationships that get established, and nurturing those relationships is literally one of the most difficult things to juggle, because you always kind of feel like, you're missing something, or you're falling short with one particular relationship when you're giving time to another. And that goes for business and personal and all that stuff. So it's difficult, right? And I think if you guys can relate to this, drop some comments or let me know if you can if you can relate to this and you've thought through kind of the same list of like, man, how do I juggle all this stuff and what do I do? So how I do it is real simple. It's a couple key things that I do all the time. And that is number one, I wake up super early. I wake up before everyone else. And that gives me some time to kind of get these things straight. It gives me some time to think. It gives me some quiet time to kind of figure out what is a priority for that particular day. What is a priority right now in my life, right? So how do I approach this day with the proper priorities is one of the most important things that I can do. And so another tip that I will give you, as Rick just mentioned here, relationship with family is number one. One of the things that I started doing about a year ago is that whatever I need to do for my family, I put that on the schedule and I figure out the rest. So I don't plan work around family. I would plan work around family. I don't plan family around work. And that used to be the opposite. And that's a really great tip that I got from someone and I implemented. And, it's important. We have so much time to do so much stuff. It may not always seem like it, but we have so much time to accomplish things. If we just prioritize first things first, we will figure out how to do the rest, right? And it's very easy to push those things for your family aside and put business in those places, or put other things in those places. But if you don't have time with your kids, if you don't have time with your spouse, if you're not, spending that quality time with your family, taking vacation, things like that, then the rest of it becomes a little more like work, right? So when you think about, enjoying what you do, if you don't have any rewards that are really important to you, and whatever that is for you, you would want to make sure that you're taking time to do that. For me, that is family. So if I don't take the time to, celebrate my family, to spend time with my family, to be present with my family, then work seems more like work, right? Because I'm not getting the reward that I'm actually seeking. So think about that and make sure that you're prioritizing whatever is most important to you first on your schedule. Um, so I want to be the best father to my kids. I want to be the best husband. And how do you do that? You do that by being present. Last week when I went down, I took all the stuff to do this show in the morning. And, I just thought to myself, like, man, I'm going to be thinking about what I'm doing. I'm going to be running downstairs. The kids are going to be waking up right around the time that I do the show. And I'm really here to spend time with them, to relax with them, to be able to, just hang out with my wife a little bit in the mornings and have coffee and, do the things that we all want to do that sometimes we don't get to do, right? Because our schedules are busy and I got to be at the office early to be able to be productive. And I do this show every morning when I'm home. And so I wanted to make sure that last week I had the most time to spend with them because, we don't always get it. And when we're arranging those schedules, we have to make sure that we put that time that we need to have with our family first. So how do I juggle being the best father to my kids? Here's some of the things that I've shared with other people that I have established is, number one, be present. When your kids are talking to you, look them in the eye, make sure they understand that you hear them. Say to them, like, I hear you, I see you. I can understand what you're saying, and here's my response. Make sure that you're present in those conversations. Put your phone down when you're talking to them as often as you can. I'm one of those people. I do spend a lot of time on my phone, but when I'm talking to my kids, I make a conscious effort to put my phone down so that I can give them my full attention. It's very, very important. And the same is true with your spouse. If you are talking to your spouse, and I'm guilty of this sometimes, my wife will say, hey, like, look over here. I'm talking to you. Are you listening to me? And so I'll put the phone down and then I listen, right? But making sure that you are present as often as you possibly can be, and that you see them and that you hear them. It is, it's the simple things, and making sure that you block that time to be present. It is super, super important to block that time. Ken Walls, what's happening, man? Good morning to you. Marvin, good morning. Donna, good morning to you. Doug, good morning. Kara, good morning. Thank you guys for being here. So making sure that you're present with your family, that's a big thing. As long as you are staying present where your feet are, you will always be able to juggle just a little bit more, right? Because you'll be more effective when you're at the office. You'll be more effective when you're at home. And you'll always feel like you're getting things done because you are present and you actually are getting things done, right? You are spending that time with your kids. You are spending that time being effective at work. You are doing things that you're supposed to be doing while you're doing them. If you're constantly, halfway at home when you're at work or halfway at work when you're at home, then that will not feel like very effective. And that'll start to get frustrating. You'll start to feel that discomfort in your life or feel ineffective for the most part, right? So I want to have successful businesses. So how do you do that, right? You, in addition to waking up early and thinking through things and taking the quiet time, you have to schedule yourself. If you don't schedule yourself, whether that be through an electronic planner or a paper planner, I use a combination of both. That's what's most effective for me. Somebody mentioned here in the comments that they plan the night before. I plan out Sunday evenings. I plan out the entire week. And then obviously at the end of each day, I'm looking at what got done, what didn't, what needs planned forward. But I make sure that I'm using my time effectively. One of the things that I've showed a lot of people recently is as I've gotten busier over the last 2 or 3 years here, my calendar is completely full most days, right? Most days, if I want a day to like think or to figure out what to do, I have to block that day off. If you don't find your calendar to be full, and I mean, every detail of it, when are you going to spend time with your family? When are you going to spend time with your spouse? When are you going to go on date night? Does that fit into your calendar, right? Make sure that you are not planning a 4 o'clock call if your wife is scheduling dinner at 5:30 on Friday, right? It takes communication. It takes just being on the same page, giving your spouse access to your calendar, maybe. But making sure that you are scheduled. If you want to run a successful business and you want to grow that, man, you better be organized, and you better not have a lot of white space on your calendar, because white space is the sign of not being productive, right? If you are just taking things as they come at you every single day, that's not going to lead to success, right? You have to live life in a proactive fashion, not a reactive fashion, or you will not create the level of success that you were intended to create. It's super, super important for you to understand that, and for you to start to get out in front of your schedule. Start to live with intention, right? Instead of living in a reactive fashion all the time. So how do you create successful businesses? Well, you are first and foremost present where you are. You're very organized. And then last but not least, you have to go after it all in, and you have to be willing to work your ass off to get it. And, for me, I look at what I do in a week, and I would tell you that 99% of the time, 99 point something percent of the time, I can look at my week and be pretty proud of it, right? Because the amount of stuff that I get done, the number of relationships that I create, the amount of time that I spend with my kids, with my wife, the number of, we've gotten better at going out on date nights and things like that, and having, time to ourselves. I can look at that week and say, man, I won, right? I can look at a day and say, I won. And I used to look at days and think, like, how could I make them better, right? And now I still do that, but I do it less frequently, right? I look at most days and say, like, man, you got a lot done today, man. You really moved things forward today. You really did a great job as a leader today. You really spent a lot of time reaching out to people and talking to them. How are you doing, right? Another thing to remember when you get super busy is to check in with people, right? And sometimes it's difficult to do that. You have to block that time to be able to do it. Block an hour of your time and make 4 phone calls to people that you need to just say hi to and check in with. Ask them how they're doing and be present with them for 15 minutes. But make sure you're taking that time. And when you can look back at your weeks, at your days, and say, man, I won more than I lost. You're gonna create that feeling of success, and your business, the success is going to spill over into your businesses. So, and then again, I want to maintain my relationships. I just kind of told you, but just making sure that you are nurturing those relationships that are meaningful in your life, and that you don't let things go too far in between. We're all guilty of it at times, but if you don't keep those things top of mind, how are you going to nurture those relationships? And before you know it, it's been months before you've spoken to somebody again. And so, how do you juggle it all? To simplify it, man, I would say that it's a couple of things that stand out. I've mentioned them all already, but wake up early, take the time to organize yourself, make sure you're living with intention and being proactive and not reactive, and realize that you can do a lot more than you think. You can fit a lot more into your schedule than you think. When you look at someone who looks tremendously busy to you, I bet they don't feel as busy as you think they look. Because I have a lot of people ask me that question. And if you were to sit next to me, there's never really a time where, too often, where I feel like things are out of control. But definitely there's not a lot of time anymore where I have significant amount of downtime. And that is, for me personally, that's what's created success in business. That's what's created success in my family. The more condensed my time has gotten, the more intentional I've had to be with it. And so I would encourage you guys to look at your lives the same way and say, how much more could I do? How much more can I fit in? How much can I condense time if I really, really want to? And am I using it to its fullest potential? If you guys need a resource of how to organize yourself, I've created one for Top Contractor School. I've created a planner. I can send you the PDF of that. You can have it printed yourself, and you can just have it, take it to FedEx or some print shop, and they'll bind it for you. You can use that as a planner. I'll send you that resource free of charge. Just shoot me a DM or connect with me on any social platform, and I'll get it to you. But it's important for you guys to look at this stuff. If you want a higher level of success, you have to be doing what those people do. And so for me, as I studied people who were incredibly successful, but way more successful than I was, I started to look at what it was that they were doing. And every single one of them had a morning routine. Every single one of them was waking up early. Every single one of them was incredibly organized. And so when you are following the steps of successful people, success leaves clues, folks. And so as you start to duplicate those behaviors and you start to mimic the actions and behaviors of those who are more successful than you, you will find the success that they have. You will start inching closer to it. So I think it's really important for you guys to realize that, that next level of success is right there for you. Every single one of us is built the same. We all have the same God-given abilities. It's the amount of work that we're willing to put in, the amount of focus that we put in a singular direction for an extended period of time. None of this happened overnight for me, by the way. And I'm not perfect in anything that I've talked about this morning. It's always a process, right? You're always falling down and getting back up, much like a child learning to walk. Think about that. If you are far from being able to execute on this list today, think about when a baby starts walking, right? What happens? They get up, they take a couple steps, and they fall down. What if that baby decided what a lot of people decide to do as adults? What if that baby just decided to just stay down? They would never experience the joy of walking. They would never really be able to live life the way that everybody else does. Think about that. Get back up. When you don't write in your planner, when you don't manage your schedule properly, it's just falling down, just like a baby does. And what does a baby do when they fall? They get right back up. They get right back on the wagon. And before you know it, they're running, right? They're walking around. They're mobile. They're doing everything that they want to do. They're going all the places that they want to go. So think about that. The next time that you fall down, the next time that you're not doing things to your fullest potential, that's what's supposed to happen in life. But as we continue to practice, as we continue to get back up and keep walking, we get a little bit better every single day, right? At being organized, at being present with our kids, at scheduling those date nights with our spouses, at being more active during the day at our businesses, at maintaining those relationships. We get a little bit better all the time. And those days that we get 1% better, just a little bit better every single day, then that compound interest pays off big time over a period of years. And I say that to you guys because I've personally experienced it. The life that I have right now was one that I, wrote down on a piece of paper years ago. And I just, put in the repetitive work that it takes to get just a little bit better every day. And, through that, it has given me enormous dividends in life, incredible fulfillment. And so I want that for all of you guys. That's why I show up here every morning and talk to you guys through this camera. I want as many people on this planet to win as possible. And so I hope that these lessons of how to juggle what's important, connected with somebody this morning. I hope that in some way you look at things through a different lens. You have a better perspective on how to juggle it all, because you can do far more than you think. And so as you learn how to just get back up and keep walking, these things will get easier and easier and easier for you. And I am here for you if you need anything. If you need advice, if you're kind of in that place where, man, I've fallen down so many times, I just don't know if it's worth starting again, give me a call. It's always worth starting again, and I'd be happy to be that person to convince you of that. So shoot me a message. Let's connect on the phone. I'm here to help and here to encourage and motivate you guys and hopefully inspire you to a better version of yourself. So with that said, I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. Man, it is good to be back. It's good to be talking to you guys. And as you can tell this morning, we've gone 25 minutes here. So I've got a lot to say over the coming days. So please tune back in. If you found value in this message, please share it out to your page. You can share it on any of the podcast platforms. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please do. There's some content coming. I've got a lot of things going on from a video perspective that are going to be pumping a lot of content out across all platforms. Instagram, even TikTok is in the plan, YouTube, all the podcast platforms obviously have these shows, and we've got some things cooking with some high-level guests that are going to be coming. We won't be doing those live in the mornings, but those will be longer form interviews where we talk about how perspective has gotten some of the most successful people in the world to the levels that they are currently experiencing. So stay tuned, guys. Lots to come in 2021. Man, I'm rested. I'm excited. I'm thankful for all of you who are here this morning hanging out with me. And I will see you again tomorrow morning. Same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.